Hi everyone, welcome to the Future Construct podcast, our special live edition at GeoWeek 2022. I am with the fearless leader of BIM Designs, who is not only the producer of the podcast, also showcasing here, and Mark Oden was also a speaker and presenter. So I want to talk about a little bit of all of this, but let's talk about your panel.
Sure, sounds good, and thank you for having me, Amy. I super appreciate it.
Well, it does have your name on it. I just want to point that out.
I appreciate that. Thank you. The panel was really good. The panel was amazing, actually. Tim was from Balfour Beatty, Kurt from Kiewit, and Dustin from Flywheel AEC. We talked about the best approaches to BIM projects and what we've all learned, tricks of the trade that we could share. I was really excited about the audience participation. Even though we had prepared some Q&A in advance, the audience covered the entire time with Q&A. Very interested on how do they represent BIM in the best way to the owner, to facilities management, to the field. What are the best practices for better BIM management? So it was a really wonderful panel, and I was honored to be the moderator for that panel.
Oh, good. And then, so, we've all had a chance to kind of walk around the expo floor. Mm-hmm. We've seen some great talk. We actually had to divide and conquer because a lot of these things were running concurrently. What were some of the other panels that you went to where you had some great takeaways or just inspired by the conversation?
Sure. Yeah, I had a wonderful panel today about construction management. So basically, what can you bring to construction management and improve that? I was so impressed with the level of expertise that was brought on that panel. That was Chris, that was Mani, Jonathan, and Kip. All from different institutions, but together their minds were just phenomenal. We had an owner's representative, we had software, we had hardware represented at that panel. They were, the owner's rep, for example, Chris was talking about how he believes the coordinates are gospel, and that the BIM model is the source of truth, basically, and combining that with your physical reality makes it the digital twin and the source of truth. And he was saying that as an owner's rep, he looks at the data that the BIM model drives to produce through to construction. So it was really incredible to see the end-to-end adoption that he was bringing to the story. I was very impressed.
Yeah, and I think that again, as someone who doesn't come at this from within the industry, right? So I'm coming at this from sort of an immersive technology and an emerging tech perspective. I am stunned that there isn't this sort of more of an end-to-end, and not just with immersive, but with AI and machine learning and blockchain and automation, robotics. That these aspects are not sort of already baked in, but again, there are the challenges of just sort of the way things are done today that people have been doing for decades, and so the change feels slow on the one hand, but seems to be accelerating. So what are some of the things that you've seen where you think, okay, this is where we need to get to?
Yeah, I love the question, and this conference, GeoWeek, has brought that to the attention frontfold for me. Is how do we bring and integrate the entire process, the technology and the tools? How do you use all of those end to end? So back to the owner's rep example, there's very few examples where you can say we're all aligned and we're all pointed the same direction. So there's many tools and options out there, but the process is, I think, what is still being refined and what's still being worked on. And we've had a lot of talks amongst the conference of how do we have like a consortium of individuals that work across every single aspect of construction, because construction is one of the most complicated things to perform, and lives depend on it to be performed well, and schedules and costs do as well. So there's all sorts of specializations across the way. How do we bring all of them together so that we're aiming in the same direction, we're performing the same process, and we're delivering ultimately what the owner is looking for. I think that's what GeoWeek has offered me, is how do we plan to work better together in this process.
That's been amazing, and I've seen even on the floor here, people are speaking together and forming strategic partnerships and really kind of filling in the gaps. It's like where one company ends and another begins, and it seems like there's this kind of energy behind that, and I think it was, a stroke of brilliance for GeoWeek to actually bring together the three specialties of SPAR 3D and LiDAR and AEC Next, because it really is this confluence of all of these technologies, and there's so much between each of those businesses that I think, kind of cross through. And so I've been really inspired by that today.
Yeah, me too. And the energy on the show floor, as you mentioned, is just everybody wants to work together. The collaboration is super high. I mean, there's so many opportunities. Now we got to figure out what is the strategy. How do we actually strategize on that and prioritize it and deploy it effectively? So that to me has like lit a brand new fire for me. Absolutely, GeoWeek has really brought that to me. And then the expertise of the panelists, the keynotes have been wonderful. You on the keynote was wonderful. So
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just really impressed with the overall turnout, especially everything we're going through. Our team, everybody's team is so excited to be breaking out of their silos and saying, how do we solve problems that we haven't been able to solve over the last few years, and how do we do that with others? So I'm seeing a whole new spark of collaboration in the construction space that I've never seen before.
Oh, that's great. It's also been really inspiring to see competitors kind of talking to each other, because it's funny. I mean, I think we were just talking to a company called Navis, and they're right next to Trimble, who's a competitor, and potentially Aviva, who could potentially be a competitor, but they're actually kind of aligning in a lot of ways, because the entire planet is going to need a digital twin. There's plenty of work for everybody. Like, we're not going to run out of things to scan and analyze and processes to improve. And that's what I think is really interesting. And I think the other thing that I'd like to ask you about too are what are some of the learnings? Did you come away and learn some things from other specialties that you hadn't really considered before? Yeah,
drones would be one big one. I didn't realize how big the drone industry was. So I definitely learned that. I learned that there's so many startups in the drone space. The application of all the different capabilities are so infinite, really, of how do you apply this. So you have specialists that are drone specialists that are trying to individually solve for each one of those problems. That's something that we've not yet expanded into yet, is either drone operation or problem solving with drones. And so I'm really excited to see how that market has really become much more sophisticated just in the last 2 or 3 years. So that also is a big learning or a big takeaway. I'm seeing startups in the space. I was just speaking with a CEO last night. His name was Mike, amazing guy based out of Oakland, and he was talking about the complications of working with the FAA. And that the rest of the world has opened up their airspace, and yet the FAA is still trying to figure out how to do that. And I'm sure they're wanting to protect lives, right? That's what the FAA is there for. And so how do we consistently innovate and manage regulation? Some gentlemen I was speaking to this morning were saying on the drone operation side, one of the rules that the FAA has recently come out with is that you need to maintain line of sight.
Right.
So then what they do is they station individuals all across the flight path. Because when I hear you have to maintain line of sight, I'm thinking one person has to sit there and operate the drone and fly it, and it can only stay within his radius of vision. But then you just kind of break the mold, and you break
they hand it off.
Exactly, they hand it off to the next guy, and it's over radio or live video or whatever. But it's really amazing that how do we partner with government regulation when they have a key concern and it's a very valid concern, and how do we think outside the box to meet their concerns? I thought I was very fascinated with that as well.
I love that. I'm still asking all of them, okay, so how does this impact pizza delivery for me?
Right.
I'm not sure they're taking.
I'm
not sure they're taking me seriously on that. But it's like I'm planting the seeds. Is really what I'm doing. It's like how do we get the good stuff? Ice cream, whatever you can do.
Sure. I just want to make sure they hold up to the 10 minutes or it's free.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I'm also kind of amazed at just the size. Like when you see them up close. Like I think of these drones, like the DJI ones that are this big and sort of manageable. But these industrial drones are serious.
Yeah, I'd love to share some photos on social media later. Maybe we can put that into perspective for
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to GeoWeek for hosting us this week. This has been a tremendous event. Just the learnings have been amazing, the connections have been amazing. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, and I'm so impressed with the conference organizers. Anywhere from positioning to hospitality to making sure that the panelists feel comfortable and presenting. I'm so impressed with the staff, the audience. Everything has been wonderful at GeoWeek.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
Cool. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much.